September 17th, 1995. The air was electric, tensions were high, and the only thing bigger than the stakes was the cage itself. WCW's Fall Brawl 1995 delivered one of the most lackluster War Games matches in history. Alliances shattered, egos collide, and the ring became a war zone you wouldn't forget. We're stepping back into that legendary night to relive every hit, every powerbomb, and every moment the fans cheered or groaned while watching this pay-per-view.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Welcome to and new. Oh yeah!
It's going to be the biggest battleground in the history of our sport.
As God is my witness, he is broken in half.
But I'm better than you,
And you know it. You want some? Come get some.
Acknowledge me.
The irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
Welcome, wrestling fans, to the Wrestling Universe Channel's podcast, where pro wrestling fans discuss what we love, pro wrestling. So as always, if it's your first time listening in, we, the Wrestling Universe Channel, would like to thank you for taking the time to listen. And if you have returned, we want to give you a special shout out of thanks for sticking around the Wrestling Universe Channel. We invite you to follow us on YouTube and Spotify. Links below.
Some believe that we are put on this earth for a reason. We have a special purpose. We are part of a divine plan. Especially this man, the Chosen. He possesses an innate power. He and his father are one. Combining their powers and summoning the Shark, the Zodiac, Kamala, Ming, the face of terror, and the Giant. Together, they have put Hulk Hogan to the test. They have lured him to the dungeon of doom. They have taunted. They have attacked. They have brought the immortal to his knees and dredged up haunting memories of the past.
Then all of a sudden I felt this aura, this presence. I felt Andre, man, right in my face.
Although the Immortal One has an inner strength like no other man, he feels the need to put an end to the Dungeon of Doom. But he will not act alone.
The Pythons and the Hulkamaniacs declare war.
His army of elite warriors, Sting, Macho Man, are war-torn survivors. And now that Vader is AWOL, the Hulkamaniacs have called upon a specialist, Lex Luger.
I called Luger into the team, man.
But like Vader, can he be trusted?
And I'll stand with you side by side for one condition. I want that title shot down the line you promised.
Or is Lex Luger another of the Taskmaster's disciples? At Fall Brawl, the world will see.
Today marks the 30-year anniversary of WCW Fall Brawl 1995, a night that gave us War Games mayhem, intense rivalries, and enough drama outside the ring to fill a whole episode itself. We'll break down the matches, the behind-the-scenes chaos, ticket sales, and even play a little what if along the way. So grab your nostalgia glasses, because this one's going to be a ride. By 1995, World Championship Wrestling was in the midst of a transformation. The Monday Night Wars were on the horizon, and the company was gearing up to compete head-to-head with the World Wrestling Federation. The landscape was shifting, and Fall Brawl 1995 was positioned as a key event in this new era. Leading up to the show, WCW had been building momentum with the debut of Monday Nitro just weeks earlier. The roster was stacked with talent, and the anticipation for Fall Brawl was palatable. Let's go back and look at what was going on behind the curtain. From the Wrestling Observer newsletter of September 18th, 1995, Big Van Vader was officially suspended by World Championship Wrestling for the backstage fight with Paul Orndorff last week, and it's believed that if they can get rid of him, they will. He's still under contract through 1999, but if World Championship Wrestling releases him, it's almost certain that he'll eventually end up in the World Wrestling Federation. Japan is always an option also. From the way the announcers talked about him on Monday Nitro, it doesn't look like Big Van Vader is going to be welcomed back, so his days in WCW are probably finished. From the Wrestling Observer newsletter of September 18, 1995, World Wrestling Federation is now claiming that Lex Luger had a valid contract through January. WCW and Lex Luger himself have claimed that he was working in WWF without a contract and was free to jump ship at any time. Luger is now saying WWF literally put whiteout on his original contract and filled in a new date in order to make this claim. That seems like a hell of an accusation, since I, Dave Meltzer, would assume that to be, incredibly illegal. World Wrestling Federation hasn't filed a lawsuit yet, but lawyers are reportedly involved. Word is Vince McMahon found out about Luger joining World Championship Wrestling at the same time everyone else did, when it happened on TV. Luger reportedly began negotiating with World Championship Wrestling in August with WWF's permissions, but those negotiations fell through, and so WWF believed Lex Luger was staying. Luger and WCW reached a secret agreement on August 31st, and Luger reportedly talked to McMahon the next day but never told him that he had resumed negotiations with World Championship Wrestling and agreed to the deal. Luger worked WWF house shows all the way up to Sunday night before appearing on Monday Nitro the next day. From behind the curtain, let's check out what the business side aspect was overall after WCW Fall Brawl. Attendance for Fall Brawl 1995 was roughly 6,600 fans packing into the Asheville Civic Center in Asheville, North Carolina. From the Wrestling Observer newsletter of September 25th, it states a solid turnout, though not a sellout. Pay-per-view buys were not extraordinary. Early estimates are that the buy rate is down significantly from previous WCW pay-per-views with Hulk Hogan on them, and since Hogan gets 25% of the pay-per-view gross, that's going to take a huge cut of WCW's profit from the show. Dave Meltzer then explains the whole Hogan Giant angle that will end up with a monster truck battle at Halloween Havoc and finishes with, "I'm not making this up." Ric Flair versus Arn Anderson wasn't the classic everyone hoped it would be. Paul Orndorff was in a skit with a TV psychic, Gary Spivey, that was so bad it made Hulk Hogan look like an Oscar-winning actor, and the War Games match itself was awful. And that's pretty much that. Let's go now into the actual match card rundown and review of the night. First, it was a pre-show match. The Nasty Boys taking on the American Males. There was no star rating by Dave Meltzer in this because he did not do pre-matches or dark matches for reviews. In the match that set the tone for the evening, this match was on WCW's pre-show, WCW's The Main Event, viewable on TBS for everyone. The Nasty Boys faced the American Males consisting of Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs. While this match didn't receive an official star rating from Dave Meltzer, it was a solid contest that showcased the contrasting styles of the teams. The Nasty Boys' brawling tactics were met with the high-flying and athleticism of the American Males, creating an engaging dynamic. The match ended up with the American Males securing the victory, marking a significant win for them on a major pay-per-view stage. The opening match, we saw Johnny B. Bad take on Brian Pillman in a number one contenders match for the WCW United States Championship. This match approximately ran about 30 minutes, and Dave Meltzer gave it 3.5 stars. An explosive opener with technical exchanges, high-flying spots, and a drama-filled time limit scenario. The match opened with respectful handshakes before quickly escalating into a flurry of arm drags, tilt-a-whirl backbreakers, headlocks, and double drop kicks. Pillman gained control with a hip toss, and aggressive chops, while Johnny B. Bad came back with a reverse surfboard and elbow drops. They took it to the outside, trading brawls, planchas, and suicide dives. The initial 20-minute time limit expired with a backflip near fall, prompting the referee to call for a sudden death overtime. The action intensified, a Super Frankensteiner, Tornado DDT, and a Tutti Frutti Punch, and even Johnny B. Bad's Bad Day Hurricane Rana each met with near falls. The finish came in a dramatic double crossbody block. Johnny B. Bad landed on the top of Brian Pillman for the pin. The second match, approximately a minute and 22 seconds. I don't even think it made 1 star in the Meltzer star rating. It was Sergeant Craig Pittman taking on Cobra. Hold on to your seat. Pittman attacked Cobra from the rafters right at the bell, using a surprise code red arm breaker to secure a quick tap out victory after just over a minute. I ask, just like I did when I saw this back then, why? Why did I witness this? The next match was the WCW World Television Championship match between Diamond Dallas Page and the Renegade. This match went approximately 8 minutes long, a solid bout with a smart finish, which is hard to believe with a wrestler like the Renegade. DDP dominated early with a Russian leg sweep and headbutts. The Renegade fought back with a handspring elbow and a flying double axe handle. A near fall chain ensued before DDP delivered the Diamond Cutter for a decisive pin, thanks to Max Muscle's interference preventing the Renegade from re-entering the ring. Diamond Dallas Page becomes the new WCW TV champion. Dave Meltzer gave this a 2.5 star rating. Moving on, we witnessed the WCW World Tag Team titles on the line as Harlem Heat took on Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater. This match approximately went 16 minutes long. It was a crowd-engaging, interference-laden tag belt. Booker T and Stevie Ray separated the ring early with tandem offense against Buck and Dirty Dick Slater. Bunkhouse Buck eventually slowed the action with a chin lock before bucking back with a scoop slam and repeated neckbreaker. Sister Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker fostered tension ringside with some flirtatious antics. The Nasty Boys interfered, using Bunkhouse Buck's own boot, allowing Booker to score the pin. Harlem Heat regained the tag team titles. Dave Meltzer gave this 2.5 stars. We move on to the match that many fans at this time would call a dream match scenario. It was the Nature Boy Ric Flair taking on AA Arn Anderson. This match approximately went 23 minutes. A deeply psychological match rooted in horseman tension. The emotional clash stemmed from the lingering resentment. Arn Anderson resented never getting a title shot from Ric Flair. Arn dominated early, working Flair's arm with hammerlocks, sleeper holds, and arm breakers, while the commentary team highlighted the lasting disrespect and compelling storyline. Ric Flair retaliated with chops, a hanging vertical suplex, and multiple near falls. Ric Flair went for the figure 4, but Arn Anderson blocked the move and reversed it into a small package. Out of all things, Brian Pillman appeared ringside, stormed the apron, and struck Ric Flair from behind, allowing AA to hit the DDT for the pin. Meltzer's star rating was 3.5 stars. And for the final match, you guessed it, it's War Games. This approximately went 20 minutes long, where we see Team Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Sting, and Lex Luger square off against the Dungeon of Doom with Kevin Sullivan ringside. The multi-stage entry saw Sting start, followed by the Shark, Zodiac, Randy Savage, Kamala, Lex Luger, Ming, and finally Hulk Hogan. Early dominance belonged to Sting and Luger, but a brief clash saw Lex Luger accidentally clothesline Randy Savage, adding more tension to the storyline. Ming and Kamala shifted momentum back towards the Dungeon's control. When Hulk Hogan finally entered, He powdered the team, unleashing brawling sequences that sent multiple opponents into the cage structure. The climax of the match saw Hulk Hogan apply, of all things, the camel clutch to the Zodiac, who tapped out. Thinking back on this, I really believe this is the only time I could ever imagine when Hulk Hogan used the camel clutch to win a match. I don't even think he did it in the early 90s against Sergeant Slaughter in the WWF, unless it was in some house show events. But still, no leg drop, no big boot, a camel clutch. Post-match, Hulk Hogan battered Kevin Sullivan until the Giant arrived, attacking Hogan and leaving the faces reeling. Now here comes my favorite part of the show. It's time for some fantasy ideas or what ifs for any of you fans to ponder and also comment about. Imagine a scenario where Big Van Vader had been involved in the main event of War Games instead of Lex Luger. What if his backstage altercation hadn't occurred? What direction would the company have gone? And what if the backstage altercation still did occur? But instead of Big Van Vader getting fired, we were going to see a Paul Orndorff Big Van Vader program in the near future. Some things to think about. Here's another one. If we switched the Sergeant Craig Pittman vs. Cobra match with the Nasty Boys against the American Males, could that have helped the overall feeling of the pay-per-view than what it originally did? Or was there a different storyline at that time in 95 that could have been on the pay-per-view but wasn't? And lastly, what if the Dungeon of Doom actually won War Games? To see the heels win against a powerful team led by Hulk Hogan would have added more fuel to the program between Hogan and the Giant. Of course, we know that wouldn't have happened, but still, what would you think of any of these what ifs? If you have other suggestions or want to comment on that, please do so in the comment section. We would love to hear what you have to say. The best memorable moments versus the worst memorable moments. The opening match, Johnny B. Bad versus Brian Pillman, is widely praised as a barn burner. In fact, here are some actual quotes from online. One of the best opening bouts for a WCW pay-per-view ever. A tremendous bout. A guy by the name of the Smart K Rant says, just a spectacular match. And someone else says, best match overall, Flying Brian versus Johnny B. Bad. Another great memorable moment from this pay-per-view, of course, has to be AA Arn Anderson going against the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Two friends at it. It was a classic of psychology and storytelling. Here are some of the quotes that I found about that match. It was delightful. That finish hurts a little, but at least it led to Pillman getting involved with the Horsemen. Here's another quote. This was such a great match. The storytelling and psychology were perfect. I love how they treated this as a big match. And the last quote, best match. Arn Anderson defeated the Nature Boy Ric Flair. They sucked the crowd in like almost no one else could. Some other moments from this pay-per-view, the campy promos and hype video. If you know what I'm talking about, you could probably find it on YouTube. The bizarre but unentertaining production was embraced. The hype video for the Hulkamaniacs versus the Dungeon of Doom battle is right up there on the list of the greatest things I've ever seen someone quoted. Someone else said, Kevin Sullivan, head booker, reveals that his number one priority was keeping Hulk Hogan happy. Dog shit. But I'll be damned if it wasn't downright hilarious and awesome from all the campiness involved. 5 stars for the wrestle crap factor. Something else of a fan commentary highlight that I had to grab, and it was from Reddit. Here's 2 of them. Bobby Heenan being hilarious on commentary. That's a given for sure. And the last one, Johnny B. Bad versus Flying Brian, extremely competitive, still pretty good. But if there's always a good, there's always a bad. And here is the worst, least effective moments of Fall Brawl 1995. War Games main event. Universally criticized as underwhelming. Someone commented the 6 worst War Games 1995. The face team was so stacked, there was little drama, a weak chin lock. Wrestling Reaction Review commented probably the worst War Games match in history. And 411 Mania reviewed easily the worst War Games match in history. Outcome was never in doubt. A half a star. DDT Digest recapped, quoted, War Games was just plain awful. The crowd was really silent. This was a pretty bad pay-per-view. And KB's Wrestling Review says one of the weakest War Games ever. One fan comments Harlem Heat vs Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater in 1995. The match was awful, with the two teams having no chemistry. A lousy angle mixed with a bad match led to pure stupidity. And some additional miscellaneous bad moments from this pay-per-view that people quoted. Well, we have to go with the quickest match by far. One comment was a man with Morse code as his entrance theme versus a man, Cobra versus Pitbull. Pretty short, odd entrance shenanigans. 411 Mania comments, I can't fathom how Cobra survived that because he looked pathetic here. Awful. Dud. As we close, this event reminds us why WCW in the mid-90s was fascinating to say the least. Talent, creativity, and chaos all wrapped into one memorable night. Even though Fall Brawl 1995 might not rank up there as one of the best pay-per-views in World Championship history, giving us a lackluster main event, quick enhancement talent matches that would be normally seen on Saturday mornings, it did provide us with a dream match that still didn't live to expectation, but was memorable. We tend to pick on Fall Brawl 1995 as being the worst, but remember, it was a transition stage. It was 1995. The focus was more on TV. Surprisingly, Eric Bischoff was more focused on hurting Vince McMahon in the TV ratings than the pay-per-view buys. And we know what was to come from here. So if you've never seen Fall Brawl 1995, you're really not missing out. But if you want to just fast forward through it and just glimpse at it or find some highlights, we encourage you to do it. Again, this is our view. This is our opinion. This is one anniversary that we tend to celebrate, but don't recommend. As always, we appreciate and thank you all for taking the time to be a part of our episode here on the Wrestling Universe channel. Please let us know how we did, or if you have anything you would like to contribute to this episode, we would love to hear your feedback. And you know the drill. Follow us on all of our social platforms, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify, and we look forward to the next episode. So long, wrestling fans.